Hi, again, my name is Debbie, and today the claim that I will be refuting is that not putting an end to the Canadian seal hunt is hurting Canada as a whole. My opponent's secondary claims include Canada is given a negative image constantly brought up by humane societies, as well as the amount of time and money are poured into the hunt will hurt the Canadian economy. My claim actually goes against her actual presentation as being confusing, biased, and misleading. First and foremost, it is confusing to the audience because of the wording in her main claims. The word "not" in her declarative sentence gives a sense of uncertainty as to what her argument was going to actually dictate. And according to her secondary claim, the wording of her actual statements seem that the main claim should be humane societies are hurting Canada as a whole, not the act of sealing. So first, I'm going to make my response to the secondary claim. So my first one is that humane societies point out the inhumane ways that of the seal hunt, that they actually use propaganda that is blatantly biased and thus giving Canada a bad reputation. So actually looking through my opponent's sources, half of them were actually from humane societies such as information.com. So I mean, obviously a lot of these humane societies pinpoint the information, pictures, videos that they put up, and they usually tend to focus on the negative images, such as like the graphic killing of animals or anything like that, in order to convey their philosophy on animal cruelty. And my opponent's context is full of emotionally loaded language, which causes the audience to ignore the reality of seal hunting and gives more to the fallacy of sympathy towards these animals, and often neglects the real economic matter. So, such as in 2006, there was a fish industry collapse, and the seal hunt actually provided a lot of new jobs for these Canadians. And a quote from Tom Hughes, who is the Executive Vice President of the Ontario Federation of the Humane Society, says that the greatest immorality in the seal hunting controversy has been the reckless, indiscriminate, deliberate campaign of the racial discrimination and hatred which has been deliberately fostered against the people of Newfoundland and of Canada by groups and individuals whose primary aim is to raise funds, particularly in the United States and in Europe. Secondly, she also said that humane societies get laws passed regarding the method of killing and they are not being followed. But when you look at it, in all societies, if a law or regulation gets imposed, not everybody abides by them. It's like saying that in California, we recently passed a law prohibiting the use of cellular use, but according to LA Times, approximately 41 drivers get caught using their phone and over the span of an hour. So again, just because rules and regulations are imposed, that doesn't mean that everybody will abide by them. But even though there are these few people that don't follow these regulations, the harp seals are not on the endangered list according to the Endangered Animals of North America in 2010. And they have actually grown in population since the regulations were introduced, says a paper by the Canadian Science Advisory Secretariat. And secondly, my opponent says that the amount of time and money are poured into the hunt will hurt the Canadian economy. But actually, seal hunting was not responsible for the decline of fish stocks in the Canadian economy. She said that it was due because the stocks fell because of the people's declining interest for seal products. But actually, it was the overfishing in the Canadian waters that was at fault for the fish stocks. And approximately $2 million is put into the seal hunt industry. So really, when you look at it from a whole country standpoint, $2 million is not a lot for one. I mean, there are millions and millions of other dollars that go into different things. And actually, in Newfoundland, where 90% of sealers live, there are less than 6,000 fishermen who actually participate in the seal hunt each year, says the Humane Society of the United States. And also companies such as Prada, Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, Long John Silver's are some of these companies that actually benefit from the seal hunt. And so some of the challenges that, like the reasoning is that major companies around the world benefit from seal hunting. And a lot of these that I just mentioned are really high-end retailers. So even though they do make a huge amount of profit from these seal hunting. And also that because of the overfishing in Canadian waters, there are other factors to the decline of the Canadian economy which are less than said. So my counterclaim says that there will always be people in the United States that will feel the need to purchase expensive clothing no matter what the cost is. And actually in ItalianFashion.com, they said that there was an increase in Prada sales, a 53% increase in 2007. So again, just because this industry is getting more exposure, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hurt the sales or the economy. And that you can't really fully blame the seal hunt for the decline of Canada because overfishing comes into play as well. So hopefully you see my claim as presented by my opponent as being confusing, biased, and misleading. Thank you.
All right, you labeled the advocate's main point pretty clearly. You've got a general counterclaim that you're presenting about the lack of clarity in the argument. I think you run into some of the same problems too, because there are issues that come up, and I'm not exactly sure how they apply to either the advocate's claim or your claim. The overfishing argument that comes in at the end, how it's related to the seal hunt, how it's related to the Canadian economy, and how it affects the image of Canada, none of that is very clear to me, and I'm not sure if your goal there was to muddy the waters or if there was some other explanation for why it's included in this argument. The signpost on your point was, on the first point, was pretty clear. You're attempting to shift causality to the Humane Society associations that are exploiting this as a way to generate money, and that they're the real source of the problem. It's not the hunt, it's the exploitation of the hunt by animal rights groups that is having a negative effect on Canada. By the way, the first thing that I thought when you were making this argument is, where's the demonstration that Canada is suffering in any way, shape, or form as a result of this sort of thing? Is there an international poll that says people think less of Canadians because of the seal hunt? Have they had a decline in tourism? Is their economy in the dumper because of this kind of thing? And there was no discussion of that issue from your perspective. I don't remember what the advocates' arguments were on that particular point, so I'm still trying to figure out how we're supposed to measure that. On the economic issue, you basically give us good background on this information. The best piece of information or argument that you have here is this notion that it's really a small group of animal people who are exploiting this as a way to raise money that are creating this problem, and it's not really the animal hunt itself that's creating a problem. And then later on you discuss why the animal hunt doesn't create a problem, because there is no decline in the number of seals, and it's not a lot of people who are involved in this. It's a little disconcerting. At one point you're saying, it does provide jobs and it's an important part of the economy, and then at another point you're saying, well, there are only 6,000 people involved in it directly. I think you need to have your focus a little sharper on that particular point. And then the fish stocks at the end, I'm going, okay, fish stocks, we have a lack of fish in those areas. Is that the issue? Or is there some company that is losing money? Or did I just get it wrong and you're really talking about fish sticks? I'm not sure what the whole point of that argument was. That's another one of those things that wasn't as clear as it needed to be. All right, thank you.